Um, I love their conversation with Tone. This game to me is going to tell us a ton about Nick and the preparation of how they're going about. I would simplify as much as I possibly can on Monday. I would just make this game as simple as I can. Okay? I really. Underneath passes, Goddard, Swift, second half, A.J. Brown, Devontae. Put the game away. Get on them early, too. I'd put a 14-play drive against the Giants and put them to sleep. Don't let the biggest mistake you can make, in my opinion, in this game, okay? In this game, in my opinion, would be if you let the Giants score first. If the Giants score first, then you're going to put self-doubt, in my opinion. You'll have self-doubt in the building. Okay? You can't let them get the lead. DeVito covers the 13. It's 13 and a half, my friend. Okay? It's 13 and a half. And I haven't is the guy good? I haven't seen him play yet. I haven't seen him play. Is he good? I haven't seen him play. So, let me get this here. I haven't seen him play. Have you? Is he good? He's decent. Hey, by the way, so when I get my boy Philly on, is he going to be kind of like looking at the Paisan here, like, Johnny Bag of Donuts here and Mr. Forget About It? I mean, I don't know, I can't wait to hear him, man. I can't wait to hear him on what, this 10 days has been like for him as they go into Christmas Day. Here he is doing his Santa impression, our friend Philly.500, as we get ready for the holidays and a very telling game on Monday versus this Gigante team. Merry Christmas to you, brother.
Merry Christmas to you too. Yo, yo, yo. Dingbat Claus is here. What's happening?
Dude, I dig the Santa Eagle hat.
Of course. Yes, of course. I'm bearing gifts this week. And
so tell me something. I didn't get a chance to see what did Nick Sirianni say? I saw you blow up on social media. What did Nick Sirianni say that got you fired up?
He was saying that don't blame Brian Johnson. Don't blame everybody else. It's his offense. It's his game plan. It's his stuff. So we should hold him accountable and not Brian Johnson. And I said, okay, well, then I blame you for this crappy offense. That's what I said. Because to me, this offense is horrible. And it's not like it was last year. That was the other thing he said, that it's the same offense as last year. There's no way this is the same offense as last year. I watched the Colts game last week, and to me, at one point, they ran like 11 or 12 straight times in the fourth quarter. We used to do that. We don't do that anymore. So that's what I was mad about.
So how about this? I think a prime example in that game that we saw in Seattle. By the way, first off, the Seattle loss for you was what?
That was the loss that told me that they've got internal problems going on. There's something more than just, hey, we lost to two good teams. I think there's problems, and I think it goes deeper than that within this locker room. And personally, I think the players don't trust the coaching staff. It's just my opinion, looking inside from the outside. But I don't think they trust this coaching staff. I think that if you look at the way they come out, you look at their demeanor, I don't think this isn't a game plan, and it doesn't look like that excites players very much to
Don't
play,
you
you
think?
know?
Hey, Philly, don't you think that this year it's being micromanaged more than it was a year ago?
Yeah, I do, but I also think it's like I also feel like it's like they really want to force a square peg in a round hole no matter what, and even when it doesn't work. But I go back to when I was on your show and you had talked to Frank Reich. I think this is all about the analytics and an analytics game plan. And doesn't it make sense that they believe in the big play so much that they always want to push it deep, and then they're so paranoid on defense to give up the big play? So I think the analytics has really like neutered this team. I do.
How about this? You know what my takeaway was from these last couple press conferences that blew my doors off was that Nick admitted that Sean Desai, and to what you said just a couple seconds ago, that Sean Desai is going to put the game plan together, but you're going to have Patricia as the play caller, and it's
Right.
my offense. This is my offense, and Brian Johnson's going to call it. I mean, you talk about too many roosters in the hen house here.
Right.
You just have too many chefs in the kitchen here, and I think that's why when you look at it, you're like this. There's no clarity on what they want to do, right? I mean,
Right.
they got too many voices in the direction of what they want this team to look like.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like that. There's definitely a disconnect. And you could see it on the players' faces. You can just tell. So I think that's a big problem. And the question is really, can they stop the bleeding? Can they fix this? Even though there's technically time, can they fix this? And I tell you this, Sills, I believe if they lose one of these next 3 games and get tossed in the first round, I think Nick Sirianni's gone. I think they're going to fire him.
You know, that was one of my topics today. It was
I did a
Sirianni
video
gets
on it
bounced
this morning.
in the wild card game. You
Ah,
think they move
I
off him?
Yeah, I have a video coming I did earlier today on it. I think that if he loses one of these next 3 games and then loses in the first round, I don't think he can recover. I think he'll lose the players in the locker room. I don't think they trust him. I don't think they'll trust him next year. This will be an epic collapse, like one that you put in the history books. I think he's done. If they're willing to fire Doug Peterson, who won a Super Bowl, then go 3 straight playoff games, I think he's going to go. I think that's what this game and these final 3 games mean. He's got to turn it around.
If he loses that Giants game on Christmas Day and it gets bounced in the opening round, that would be, in your opinion, that would be
Yeah,
the beginning of the end for him.
I think so. I don't think they could. I don't think. I mean, nobody in that locker room is going to trust him going into next year. I think unless they keep him and then they, take more power away from him. Not that he has much. Here's what'll happen, right? Let's say he chokes, they lose one of the next 3 games, they lose the division, they go to the wild card, they lose. You know what he's going to say? He's going to go to Howie, go, well, listen, I need to be able to do things my way, the way I want. I need more power and control to be able to do more. And Howie was going to say, see ya. They ain't giving up any control. So I think Nick Sirianni, if he does not get at least to the second round of playoffs and does not win the division, I think they're in trouble. I think he's in trouble. I really do.
You think Nick Sirianni get this? You see, I think the organization looks at what were they last year? 14-3. Were they 14 and okay, they were 14-3 and now they're 10-4. So we'll just go to this point. They're 24-7 right now. I would say this to you. Do you believe that Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie look at it this way? That 24-7 is a reflection of our organization, not Nick. And that's why you're saying he's expendable, because they look at, like you said, you could fire Doug, you could fire Andy, you could fire anybody, that they look at more of that because of the control factor that they have over the organization and the personnel, that to them, that's more a reflection on the organization than Nick.
Right.
Nick is a result of our work, is how they look at it. Do you agree?
Right. I agree. I agree. I think they figure they could find another Nick Sirianni out there.
Because
You
here,
know?
and to your point, and this is what I told Tone earlier, when coaches have 24-7 records, they're in control of hiring their own staffs, their own systems. They help bring in their own personnel. So when you have a guy with a 24-7 record, he's more responsible and has more jobs. Nick has none of those responsibilities.
Right.
That's why it's easier to move off him.
Right. And it's the way it happened. It's not like he's got a 24/7 record and he was great for the second half of the season. This is a guy that had a 10-1 record after 11 games and was 2 games up on first of the number 1 seed. 2 games up after 11 games. You're usually in a pretty good position. Now you're talking about maybe being the 5th seed. I don't know how he can recover from it. You got wide receiver fighting with people on social media. You got a coach who's saying stupid things at a press conference. Now you have reports that today that there's internal concern about Jalen Hurts' leadership and how he acts.
Why does this sound like Wentz? Why does this sound like the Wentz stuff again?
It does. But to me, I don't know. I think the whole internal, he's not speaking loud enough thing. I don't know. That sounds like scapegoat stuff to me because Jalen Hurts is the only reason you got 10 wins. He's the only reason you won 10 games. You put Dak Prescott with the Eagles offense, right? You think they go beat Buffalo? You think they beat Kansas City? You think they beat Miami? No. I think Jalen Hurts is the reason they won 10 games. But I think there's finger pointing going on because I think this coach is going to get the blame. That's my personal opinion.
Don't you think when you hear it's a great point because anytime there's finger pointing going on in organizations, that means you don't have strong leadership at the coaching position.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
One thing, get this, in New England, that thing's a train wreck this year, right? Nobody's pointing anything at anything but Bill. And
right.
Bill doesn't have it any other way, nor would he have it any other way. When shit goes sideways in Seattle, it's pointed at Pete.
Right.
Here, you're pointing it at the players and assistant coaches. It just seems that's another telltale sign that guy has no control over his team.
Yeah. And there was 2 different conflicting reports. There was a report today that I read talking about the internal, concerns about Hurts. Then you get another report saying from the backup quarterback saying that Jalen Hurts, he is the loudest voice in the locker room and on the field. So how could you have both of these things going on at the same time? To me, it sounds like there's different voices and there's finger pointing within the front office going on, and things are leaking out in weird ways. So I think Nick Sirianni is in trouble if he can't turn this thing around.
You think Nick Sirianni's responsible for all the noise?
Well, I mean, he is the head coach, so I don't know. It's hard to know because, Howie Roseman does his thing too. Those analytic guys, they're sitting there. You don't think they're using analytics to put out different public reports? They calculate the calculations with their nerdy glasses. They're a bunch of nerds. Sills are a bunch of nerds.
All right, I'll ask you a question about Christmas Day's game. Would you bet your house that the Eagles win that game against the Giants?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, okay. I love your conviction. Why?
Because the Giants stink.
They do. But didn't you think Seattle stunk?
Yeah, well, I thought we beat Seattle. I thought it would be tough, but we have struggled in Seattle before. We usually
But it was Drew Lock.
I know. Drew Montana, you mean? Drew Montana. He looked like Joe Montana.
Yeah, Drew Montana. Fabulous.
No, I think we will. Listen, I thought we would win. I thought it would be a close game, and last week at Seattle. I think this has got to be, to me, this game, you can't just win this game. Like, you can't win this game 9-6 or 17-14. Like, this has got to be a get-right game. Like, you need to blow this team out.
I think this is a 31-9 game.
Yeah, it's got to be something like 31-9, 31-30. Like, they have to blow this team out of the water because if they don't, It's bad. I mean, this has got to be a game where you take all the frustration of the last few weeks and you got to take it out on the Giants. And if they don't, I mean, if the Giants win or this is a close game, I think that looks really bad on Nick Sirianni. I do.
So you don't want to see DeVito Sims on Christmas
No.
Day. It's better not.
I feel like
DeVito
if DeVito beats us, I'm gonna feel personally like that's an Italian on Italian crime. You know what I mean? I like the kid. I like him. He, but if he beats us, I'm taking it that personal. Like that's Italian on Italian crime. You can't allow that kid to beat you. He was sacked what? He's like five times every game. Like this has got to be a get right game for this team. If they don't come out and they don't beat the crap out of the Giants and they let the Giants hang around, then I don't know how you can't say there's something not internally wrong here.
Do they win the rest of their games?
I think they do, but they've got to win. They got to win Monday, and they got to win convincingly. I feel like if they win Monday, it'll take a lot of pressure off. But if they don't win Monday, then they might lose 2 more games. But they should. I mean, they should beat them. I think the Arizona game is actually the harder game than the two Giant games.
Okay, I'm going to play a little game with you here. In 3 years, is Sirianni the head football coach?
Boy, if you ask me that after these 3 games, I'll tell you. But I'm gonna say no.
Oh, gee.
And it doesn't even, and it's not a matter of wins or losses, because even if he wins, let's say he wins, let's say the Eagles turn it all around, they go to the NFC Championship game, right? And then next year they're really good. At some point, he's going to want more control. And when he thinks he's built up enough control to go after Howie Roseman, he's going to get canned anyways. So regardless of whether he wins or loses, I don't know that the lifespan of a coach under this regime, I don't know if the little guy is going to allow coaches to stay that long.
The little guy. I love the little guy. The little guy.
The little guy. He's like Napoleon, you know?
Oh, I know. Oh, my God. He's here. Look, the only difference is when he's got his hand inside the jacket, this guy's got pink slips ready to hand out. This guy's ready to try to – this guy's got scapegoat names inside that thing here.
I mean, Doug Peterson won you a Super Bowl.
Howie Napoleon.
Howie Napoleon. Then he went to 3 straight playoff games, and they fired him the first year because he wanted more control. So either Nick Sirianni is going to build up where he thinks he's earned the right to have more say, or he's going to fail. Either way, it ain't going to last long, I don't believe.
No, I think Bozo Sirianni's on a timeline too, man. I do. I think, I do. I do you think Howie Roseman is general manager of the Eagles in 3 years?
Yes. I think not only do I think he's the general manager, I think he's going to also be the owner. I think he must have I think he must have compromising photos on Jeffrey Louis or something. And whatever happens, Howie Roseman always seems to come out of it with more power and more control. So I think he'll be the owner in 3 years. Are you kidding?
How about this one? This is just shits and giggles here. Looks like the Steelers, and there's rumors that they may try trading Tomlin. And Tomlin would be, because it's 17 years. They're not going anywhere. There's no Super Bowl on the horizon. Maybe it's a fresh start. The Steelers are really great at hiring coaches. They've only had, get this, Philly, you want to hear something psycho? Yeah. The Steelers have only had 3 coaches since 1969.
Wow.
3 coaches. Yeah. There's been more popes and presidents than there have head coaches in Pittsburgh, which is insane. That's stability at its finest.
Yeah.
Okay. However, 17 years, I mean, he's years past Bill Cowher. So, David Tepper, they're talking about that situation. Mm-hmm. Washington, potentially. Why wouldn't an organization like Philly want a guy, and especially since your defense is horseshit, you bring a guy like Tom, they're only winning games in Pittsburgh. Do you think Jeffrey Lurie would ever, and by the way, Mike Tomlin works with front offices exceptionally well. He's worked at the front office, and Pittsburgh's got a lot of control. They just do it differently. There's not one Napoleon in a room. Everyone kind of helps the coach. It's not like overseeing the coach. See, my problem with Howie is that he has no accountability. Like, he's not accountable to anybody but the owner. There's no accountability, and the owner doesn't hold him that way. And that's why the organization doesn't self-reflect enough. See, they, like you said when you came on today, they look at this situation like it's not their fault. They don't think they're doing anything wrong.
Right.
Would you consider doing something like Tomlin, or do you think that's just way over the top for them?
I don't think Tomlin would consider it, because I think you're going to have the same problem you had when they were trying to hire a coach the last time. Any coach that wants control or say so, and has built up the equity in this league to have that, is not going to want to relinquish all that to Howie Roseman. And I don't think Howie is ever going to put himself in a position again to happen with what happened with Chip Dip Kelly. So, I don't think that you're going to end up getting coaches here that have, experience or won Super Bowls. I think you're always going to get that guy who comes in that's fresh, that's willing to give up the control because he wants his first opportunity to coach. I always think you're going to get that kind of guy with the Eagles because they don't want to give the control. Tomlin's not going to want to come here and have Howie Roseman tell him how to run his offense or tell him what kind of defensive coordinator he has to hire. Tomlin's too good of a coach for that. So I don't see the Eagles having those kind of coaches.
I have to ask you a favor. How long have you been covering this team?
Oh, I mean, I've been watching since I was 5. But I've been on here since 2016 on YouTube.
Okay, help me out on something. And give me a history lesson, because I've never asked this question actually to anybody, including Angelo. How did Roseman lose control of the organization when they decided, and the owner decided to do this? Because this will tell me a little bit about what happened to Howie for the owner to go, no, I'm going with a college coach who has no NFL experience whatsoever, and I'm going to put that guy in the broom closet, and I'm giving Chip complete control. Was there a situation? Was there a lead up? Was there anything that led to that made that owner have such a massive change in direction?
It didn't start that way. When they hired Chip Kelly, Howie had his role as a GM. And
okay. So he was still the GM?
Yeah, he was actually stripped of it. Chip Kelly said, this guy's not a football guy. He went to the coach. He went to the owner and he said, I can't work with this guy. I need to be able to have more control. And they gave it to him. And they actually gave it to him. And then Howie kind of just disappeared. It didn't start off where he was stripped of it. He was actually the GM when they hired Chip Kelly.
Now I know why they hire inexperienced coaches, because an experienced coach who has the autonomy to walk into the owner's room and say, this guy's not a football guy. That's what ended. That's why he'll never have Philly. You just let me know now why they hire guys like Sirianni and these dudes.
Yeah.
Is because now he never wants to be called a non-football guy.
And he's never going to give that control. I mean, Doug Peterson, right? Doug Peterson had never been, he wasn't even talked about as a candidate for a head coach when the Eagles hired him. And when he did get hired, he had to accept the defensive coordinator. Jim Schwartz wasn't a Doug Peterson hire. He was already hired as a defensive coordinator before they had a coach. So,
holy shit. And did Howie hire Jim Schwartz?
Yep.
Howie hired an experienced D coordinator then because he needed to. Then he went out and he hired he hired more of an experienced coordinator who had been, because Schwartz had been the head coach of the Lions, right?
Right.
So he hired a more experienced Why do you think that they hired they went from a Super Bowl football team to downgrading their coordinators? Why? With lesser experienced coordinators.
Maybe it's the same way like they look at Desai, right, as a defensive coordinator, and you bring in Matt Patricia so that you have a guy ready to go just in case. There were a lot of reports at the time after Doug's first year that Schwartz was going to end up being the head coach and that Doug Peterson was on a short leash. So, who knows?
So this is completely about control with Howie.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I don't think you'll ever see a Tomlin or somebody like that. And that's why I say even if Nick Sirianni has success over the next few years, when he goes and he thinks he needs more control, you think they're going to give it to him? They let Doug Peterson go. They're going to let him go too.
I got asked a question. Last question for you here. I got asked a question a couple days ago by a college guy, and somebody said to me, he goes, "You think the Eagles would ever consider somebody like Jim Harbaugh?" And I said, and I go, "Why would you throw Harbaugh?" He goes, "Well, he did take Kaepernick to a Super Bowl, and it's an RPO guy, and that's kind of what, he's a guy that likes those RPO type quarterbacks. And look what he did with Kaepernick. He could do the same thing with Hurts. Hurts is a better passer than Kaepernick." And I was like, yeah, but I go, that guy wears you out though, bro. I mean,
Right.
that's a guy who likes not to be told what to do. That guy answers to the president of Michigan University. He don't even like answering the boosters. So,
Right.
you got to answer to Howie Roseman. See, he would have a problem with that. You got to remember something about Harbaugh. He's not just a college coach. Jim Harbaugh's 41-17-1 as an NFL head coach and won
Right.
an NFC championship. So it's not like he's Chip Kelly. That guy's
Right.
had success at every level, and he's a former player who played 17 years. And Harbaugh, right, like Barb says, Harbaugh's in trouble in Michigan. There's another investigation coming out. Would you think they'd ever consider somebody like that? Or again, that
No.
would be a negative thing because it's just a guy who would want more autonomy in the program, and they wouldn't hire a guy. So they don't hire quality coaches.
You think about it. Look at the coaches that they hired. They hired a guy hired a college guy after Andy, right? Then you hire Doug Peterson. Go back and look at all the people that were rumored to be the head coach of the Eagles. No, Doug Peterson wasn't even considered. He came out of nowhere. Nick Sirianni. Who was Nick Sirianni before he was hired? Nobody even heard of him. I do not believe they will ever get a coach that has built up equity within the league as success under Howie. They'll go up and maybe pick somebody from their coaching staff. They might go get Andy Reid's quarterback coach or something like that. But I don't think they're going to do that because listen, Howie Roseman's had trouble with GMs and general managers who did not want to come and work with him because they don't consider him a football guy. So, I think that
you don't know what a statement you just said and how true that is, that there's general managers in the league that say this.
Yeah.
He's not a personnel guy.
Right. He's a cap guy. He's a money guy.
He's a cap guy.
Great with that. He's great with trades. But and this isn't me speculating. This has actually been reported. This has been, in fact, if you look how long it takes them to find general managers and other guys. I forget the guy's name, the GM of the Jets. It took us forever to get him. Joe Douglas, right? He had to come in and share responsibility with Howie. Joe Douglas wasn't really in charge of what was going on here. That's Howie Roseman.
What was Andrew Berry's role?
I think he
Cleveland.
was like I think he was like a special. He's a GM now, right?
Yeah, Cleveland.
I don't remember what it was. It was like a special assistant to the GM or to Howie or something like that. I don't know exactly, but Howie's always been the guy in charge, and he is not going to put himself in a position where he hires a coach like Tomlin or Harbaugh that comes in and says, "I want to do things my way." It's not going to happen. So, that's why I don't think, even if Nick Sirianni wins 2 Super Bowls, I don't think he lasts long because Howie's not giving up that control.
7 fishes on Sunday?
I'm not going to have 7, but we'll have a few, few things here. A little crabs and spaghetti. That's my favorite. We're going to
do you have any, do you drink at all?
Yeah, once in a while. I'm not the biggest drinker in the world, but I'll drink here and there,
I like fruity drinks. I like those little wormy drinks like pina coladas and margaritas and shit like that.
I like Tanqueray and tonics. That's my drink.
Tanqueray and tonics. Look
Tanqueray
at that.
and
You're an
tonics.
aristocrat.
I am. That or really dark beer. You know, those two things I like.
Holy
But I'm
shit,
not-
an aristocratic a Tanqueray and
Hey,
tonic, man.
hey,
It sounds
I
like you go to
drink with my
49er
pinky up.
games.
Pinky
I know.
up, like,
I'm expecting that at a 49er game instead of beers and brats
Nah.
at the link this
nah,
weekend.
me and John Gotti, we got pinky up when we drink, baby. Got to show off.
The only way an Italian guy puts the pinky up is when he has espresso cappuccino in his hand.
That's it. Hey, I got big hands. Everything looks like a little espresso cup to me.
That's what I always tell my wife. It's not what you think down there. I got big hands.
That's right.
Everything looks small on big sills. You know, I got big hands, big thighs. How you doing?
Right.
Big feet. Hey, Philly, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you and your family. You're absolutely awesome and such a great such a great part of our show, and I love you coming on here.
I love being on. Thank you so much, Phil. Take care.
You got it, man. The great, absolute Philly.500. I love having him on, man. Absolutely awesome. Make sure you check out his podcast. He does such a spectacular job. I watch him too. He's great. Merry Christmas to him. Power Hour coming up, and the legend himself, the Philly Godfather. He's got 500 grand to show you. 500 grand. Woo! You tell me this guy doesn't make money? Come on now. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near. Shop, have a beer. Christmas shopping shouldn't be hard. Give your friends a Hooters gift card.
This year, stuff their stockings and yours too with a one-size-fits-all gift card. Buy a $25 Hooters gift card and receive a $5 Santa's bonus card. Make it Hooters for the holidays.
Eat chicken wings, buy Hooters things. Christmas is near. Gift cards are here. Good at Hooters everywhere now. Hooters gifts are always favored.